Okay. Time to play. Okay, continuing with whew. So now I'm on the fourth floor. Detective Nell. Hi, my name is Nell, and it's my first day. I shook hands with the weirdo in front of me, who was now apparently my partner. I wasn't lying. It was really my first day, both as a detective in the competition, and so far I'd been doing ridiculously well. It was probably just luck, since I'd been paired with Detective Sally for round two, whose method matched perfectly with mine. What's your name? Don't have one. But I'm 772. What? Is that your code number? No, it's the number of cases I've solved in my lifetime. Wow. It's not as impressive when you realize I'm counting the times I figured out where I lost my key. I call that one the adventure of the missing keys. This was the detective in third place out of 100 different detectives? Was this really Detective 772 or an imposter? Could he really be this embarrassing? As I was thinking, 772 started to pretend to play a saxophone. You're not very popular, are you? It's like an Oreo. Sometimes the frosting of resentment gets in the way of the cookies of fame. Seems like the frosting of sense was blocked by the cookies of nonsense to me. Suddenly, a delightful jingle was heard. Fourth floor occupants, it's almost time for the third mystery. Oh, good. This is so cool. 772's eyes twitched, probably in delighted anticipation for what the next mystery would bring. This competition doesn't taste very good to me. There's no suspense. How so? It's like an Oreo. What's up with this stupid simile? And why did he keep using it? The frosting of tension is being blocked by the cookies of cliche. What? Why? I don't know why I bothered to ask. Only God knows why this guy got to third place. I've practically figured out all the mysteries they could throw my way. As he said this, he hopped from foot to foot while simultaneously doing the wave. As he did this, I wondered, could I be in the presence of a true genius? The first mystery's locked door gimmick relied on an accident. The second murder was committed through a window so that the killer didn't need to enter the room at all. And so what? Since they didn't repeat the same locked room trick twice, my guess is that the next 3 mysteries will use completely different locked room tricks each time. There are many such tricks. Keep in mind, TOD, POD, and MOD, or time of death, place of death, and method of death, respectively. I like to shorten it down to the TPM rule. That's cute, but what if you don't know any information about the TOD and MOD and whatever? Well, then it's totally useless. He started doing the hopping dance again. It was a good thing nobody was looking at us. I was saved by the joyful melody playing from the intercom. Time's up. The rooms are ready for you. Junter and Captain, room 11. Flake and Day, room 10. 772 and Nell, room 3. I'm excited. Emotions are illusion. Life is a crime. And go ahead and lock me up, I guess. He didn't respond. I was still learning how to deal with 772's nonsense. What's the right approach for dealing with eccentric types? It seems to be a trait with detectives, so I had to figure it out soon. I didn't want to rain on his parade, but he wasn't giving me many options. This seems like a cool mystery. Detective 772 immediately did a handstand. Yeah, that's great. Sometimes to see the crime scene a different way, you need to see it a different way. Sure. The chime sounded. Detective Nell and Detective 772. Welcome to the 3rd round of Stage 1. The mystery you'll be solving this time is called The Invisible Weapon. Please take a look at the case file to understand the context of the crime. Businessman Mr. Stash was found dead in his office at 3 p.m., an hour after firing the reportedly furious Mrs. Fired. The door was locked and could not be opened from the outside when the crime was discovered. You don't have access to the autopsy report. What is the invisible weapon? Mr. Stash, Mrs. Fired. Sometimes I wonder what would happen if I entered the wrong room on purpose. We would kill you. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Ho ho ho. Ho ho ho. I guess they had built up some sort of camaraderie. I hope you're serious. I can't wait for my own death. I already ordered the party favors. One of them is a bobblehead of Bob L. Head, my neurologist. Okay, cut it out. Stop your stupid random dancing and word games and headstands. I tried to be nice, but you know what? We need to concentrate on the mystery. I thought I had more patience than I did. His non-stop wacky antics had already exhausted me past my tolerance threshold, and it had only been a few minutes since I met him. Oh, fine. Serious time. Great. You would dance all you want after we solve it. Serious time, then dance time. Murder isn't all serious, you know. There's plenty of fun to be had. Oh boy. Can we start now? I've already started. Maybe you should get on that. I will. I can do this. I wasn't making it very public, but I had a natural ability that had helped me a great deal in this contest. Even though I'm nearsighted, within close range of an object, I can see immense amounts of detail, even more detail than a magnifying glass. This ability helps me distinguish between various similar substances like sugar and salt. But I can even see fingerprints and other prints left behind by skin oils. Looking at the crime scene, there was an obvious candidate for this kind of close examination. I wondered if this was a good use of my method, but it seemed like a simple bloodstain, nothing more. Oh, right, I should specify the method. This seemed like a good use for my method. Time to get to work. This was something. I could see the coffee is interacting with the foreign liquid. The way they collided. Cyanide. A classic. Death would have been within minutes. The office definitely belonged to Mr. Stash. Glad that was cleared up. Mr. Stash? What was up with these names? Was the fact that he was blue have any significance? I'd finished examining all the evidence. The solution seemed pretty straightforward to me. Detective 772 was busy goofing off. He ran around the room twice, knocking into walls and generally being a nuisance. What is this all about? Oh, the running? That's what I called accelerated pacing. His eyes glazed over. Who needed him anyway? He was about as helpful as a pop-up ad and twice as annoying. So this mystery seems pretty cut and dry. I examined the coffee cup and discovered traces of poison. Let's test that. He grabbed the coffee mug off the desk and sipped it, then spat the coffee immediately. Yep, poisoned. Why? Just why? Please continue. It was very interesting. Okay. I tried to remember the $1 million I would be receiving to cheer myself up. It helped a little. Okay. So that's all there is to it, right? Mrs. Fired seemed to be the only possible suspect, so we can assume she poisoned the coffee. He locks the door to his office, sips the coffee, coughs up blood, dies. Simple. What about the bonus? What's the invisible weapon? The poison, obviously. He couldn't see it. Could he? 772 gave me a lifeless look. What? That's an extremely boring solution. Sometimes the solution is boring. No. What? A mystery is always interesting. Always. But what about when it isn't? Sometimes someone shoots someone else, and that's it. Sometimes someone poisons someone else, and that's it. Just because a mystery doesn't entertain you, that's no reason to... I trailed off because 772 didn't appear to be listening. No. You completely misunderstood me. Ah, it's because you linked the ideas of those two sentences. What are you muttering about? What I meant is, Mysteries are interesting, generally speaking. What I meant is, your solution to the specific mystery is boring and wrong. What? He jumped up on the desk. What the heck? When I'm at higher altitude, my brain operates at a higher level. Yeah, right. Your solution was wrong. I'm proving my point right now. How? What did you notice about when I jumped up? The desk is pretty big, isn't it? Oh, really? I didn't notice. I guess that wasn't the answer he was expecting. That loud thud when you jumped up. Honestly, I hadn't noticed much that was unusual about it. Yes. Using my keen observational skills, I heard something strange when I jumped up. He stomped hard on the desk. To my horror, oh my god. This changes everything. Whoa. Everything? Am I still a human? Oh, shut up. 772 didn't seem to care that my entire solution to the mystery had been completely demolished. I guess I should have been thankful that he hadn't let me submit my false deduction. What could this mean? A gun. Did she shoot it? What the heck happened here? Mrs. Fired. So was she still the murderer? Or just another victim? Or both? I was so confused. I'd finished examining the evidence that 772 had uncovered. I added everything to the case file. I'm all ready, so whenever you want now. What? Sure. Why wait for me? I know everything in this contest is based on time. But honestly, who cares? If nobody gets the time to appreciate the mystery, what does it matter that you came in third, second, or even first? Don't worry, I've appreciated the mystery and I'm ready. I still hadn't figured it out yet. He turned to a corner of the wall. If I stared hard enough at the corner, I could just barely see a hidden speaker. Here's my deduction. We'll do a fun call and response thing, okay now? What? After being fired, misfired, he pointed at me like I knew the answer. Think now, think. Poison the coffee. Poison Mr. Stash's coffee. She left and waited for him to die, but when she came back, he was still alive. And he'd realized she tried to poison him. Huh, I guess that makes sense. He was doing a lot of work for me. I had to step up my game. What happened after Mr. Stash realized his coffee had been poisoned? He shot Mrs. Fired. As I said it, I realized what must come next. He locked the door, stuffed her in the desk with the gun, and then he died. One more thing. Even though 772 was already dancing, I knew there was still something missing. What was it? Oh yeah, the invisible method was actually the gun. Ah, submit. Your deduction was correct. You only took 3 minutes and 40 seconds. However, you are still in third place. Oh yeah. He threw the case file in the air. Stop that. Through my irritation at his antics, I couldn't help feeling happy that we solved the case, and in record time too. The door unlocked by itself, which was a nice touch, and we stepped out into the hall. He started to walk off, but I moved to block him. Wait. If I'm going to continue to be your partner, we have to get one thing straight. Cut out the silly gimmicks. Please. I really, really want to win this contest. They take too much time. Just look how long you took on the last mystery. Every second counts. Everything I do, no matter how silly, is filled with purpose. Wow. Do you really have a purpose, Nell? Yeah, I guess it'd be to be the greatest detective and win $1 million. Why stop at $1 million? You could conquer the world because it's the prize for winning the contest. No, your purpose must extend beyond the contest. That's what makes it, in all caps, purpose, not lowercase purpose. I didn't realize I would be trying to find the purpose of my life by signing up for this contest. Why not? Isn't life about figuring out what life's about? It's the ultimate mystery. Is that why you said life's a crime? Who committed the crime? What's the motive for the crime? Who's the victim of the crime? Who wrote that message on the mirror? What? What? We stood in silence for a solid minute. They lived happily ever after. The end. He bowed and walked away. That actually is pretty interesting. The circus. That's what he reminded me of for some reason. He turned slowly and looked at me with an expression on his face that I'd never seen there before. My parents were clowns. For some reason I didn't laugh, even though the statement felt out of context. Suddenly, everything he'd done so far made complete sense. I stood in the hallway puzzling over it for too long. When I got back to the waiting room, he was nowhere to be seen. Thanks for the follow. A red July in winter. After meeting her new partner, an eccentric detective who's currently ranked in third in the Mysterious Detective competition, Detective Nell heads to the waiting room as the detectives prepare for the fourth round. Sorry for the neglect. I guess I was sort of intrigued by the dialogue. I stared at the pale, cold-colored ceiling, lost in thought. There were cracks in the paint, and through them I could just barely see a glint of a camera lens poking through. They sure knew how to hide them. I'd greeted nearly everyone on the fourth floor by now, though I never talked about the top three detectives unless I had to. Detective 772 had been the first one I'd actually met, but seeing as he was way more impressive than I thought at first, I was sort of scared to talk to a detective with an actual reputation like Red July. I'd heard somewhere that she slows down when she's solving a crime, trying to take as long as possible, yet still comes in under a minute. ever since I heard that, I tried it myself, but of course that ended in miserable failure. But it was my first day after all. The new partners were announced, but it didn't matter, since I was still with Detective 772. Actually, his name changed to 773, since he just solved a new case. Though the game master told me the top 3 spots were locked with partners they got from the start, it wasn't entirely true. There was a condition. If the partner didn't contribute to the solving of the case, they got swapped out. I remembered how in command of the crime scene Detective 773 had been, and I got a bit worried that I'd be given the boot. But this time I was determined to do more, and not just yell at him to stop messing around. I didn't want to get switched out when I'd just gotten to 3rd. There was a certain gambling aspect though, because you could not do anything on purpose to see if you get partnered with an even higher spot. So the question was, were you willing to risk a good spot for a better one? Hello. Lost in thought? Want to take a bit of a risk? Maybe. What would you say if I could get you into contact with Red July? My heart flipped and flopped with sudden nervousness. Into contact with Red July? That'd be cool. Great, sure. I will introduce you so you don't feel intimidated. No thanks. That'd probably make it even more awkward. You don't even know what she looks like, do you? I realized I didn't actually know. However, I talked to as many people as I could, and everyone thought the same thing. Isn't that her? No. That's the quiet detective who solves cases in silence. She doesn't ever speak. But when she does, it's always one word. That one word, that's the key to the mystery. It probably takes her longer to think of which word to say than it does to solve the case. So who's Red July then? Her. The one on the right. Wait, so Red July has darker hair. The silent one has blonde hair. Wow, I didn't even know she was a twin. She isn't. Her current partner is the Master of Disguise, Detective Honor. The detective is pretending to be Red July. What? That's incredible. I actually talked to both of them before, and I never would have guessed. But how'd you know? He gave me an irritating wink. 3 things. The eyes, the actions, and the name tag. I glanced over to the twins. The name tag on the left one read, "Know myself." And the name tag on the right read, "Know myself." Huh. Obviously, Know Myself refers to how Detective Honor never is herself. And Know Myself refers to Red July's reputation, which is the largest of any detective here. I doubt that their matchup was a random coincidence, given that their name tags have a similar play on words. Oh, now that you say that, it's pretty obvious. It's like an Oreo. No, not really. I'd had enough of this cheesy shtick. The announcement jingle was heard. It's almost time for the 4th round. Get ready, detectives. I felt a push from behind and suddenly was standing in front of Red July. I angrily glanced back at Detective 773, who was waving cheerfully. The jerk. Now it was going to be even harder to ease the awkwardness. Hi. No. I'd ruined the chance to make a cool introduction like, I see from your name tag that you're not who you appear to be. Or, my name's Nell, and your name's Red July, isn't it? Hello, Nell. Sorry about the trickery. I'm Red July. So pleased to meet you, Detective Honor. And you, Detective Red July. Good call. But one made by 773. How'd you know? How'd you know was becoming my catchphrase. When you talked to us earlier, you didn't know. And after you talked to 773, you did. The way you were glancing over here was exceedingly obvious. Oh. Yeah, it was obvious, huh? Apparently lots of things needed to be pointed out to me by smarter detectives. Sure made me feel like a dope. Listen, Nell. Your future is a light trunk tree, but it branches as dark as the night. Oh, don't deviate. Stay a detective. And if you start to lean into other lines of work, correct yourself immediately. Are they dark as in unknown or dark as in bad? I'm not very good with metaphors, even if they're not about Oreos. They're dark as in mysterious, and they will be mysterious as long as you can't solve the mystery. Ooh. I was making a fool of myself. But I had so many questions. There wasn't enough time to ask them all. Other tips? Any other tips for surviving the contest? The mysteries don't matter. What do you mean they don't matter? Isn't that the whole point of the contest? I'm not so sure. Find good partners and stick with them. I don't know if me and 773 are such a great team. He needs you more than you need him. Really? That was very flattering to hear. Detectives? 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 So many detectives. Well, the fourth round is ready for you, so no need to keep pretending like you're talking to each other. I was still puzzling over Red July's tree metaphor. I guess top 3 detectives love metaphors because it makes them sound more intelligent. I remember 773's Oreo metaphor, and suddenly I realized he was parodying Red July. The longer I spent with him, the more sense he made. Or maybe I was just deluding myself, thinking I could figure him out. Or maybe the real delusion was that there was anything to solve at all. Emergency protocol. The case was called A Singular Key. 773 didn't seem concerned, but I was having trouble. I decided to give everything another look just to be sure I wasn't missing something. Could this really be a mystery with only one piece of evidence? I took a look at the case file again, just to be sure I wasn't crazy. Mr. Paranoido, a small-time crook wanted by police, was found dead in a walk-in closet at 10:20 a.m. Mr. Gunhappy, a police officer, was the only one on the scene. The closet looked the closet was locked, and the only key was found inside with Mr. Paranoido. You do not have access to the autopsy report. Why was Mr. Paranoido hiding in the closet? Sure seemed like it. I couldn't think of anything to do except check all the check all the evidence again. The key was the only piece of evidence. Wasn't the only. I hadn't tried using my method yet. Maybe that would turn up something. The neck of the key was entirely unremarkable. I was really struggling to come up with something to say about it. Nothing out of the ordinary I could see. Pretty standard design for a key. Nothing interesting there. My method had proven to be completely useless at the drumming up anything new, which happened more often than not. Now what? Mr. Paranoido. There was a strange symbol on his chest. It looked like a broken heart. Does this mean he died from a bad breakup? Love kills. I tried not to do it myself. It'd be pretty ironic for a detective to kill someone. I think we could rule it out, if you say so. To me, it looks like heart failure of some kind. Epic fail. I tried not to cringe. What's that expression you're making, Nell? My cringing expression. Too bad we weren't given the autopsy report. There's no way to know what it meant for sure. A heart attack? Could be. We'll say that's what it is for now. And we could come up with something better later. Looked like the key really was the only evidence. Time to get creative. Was the key maybe the murder weapon somehow? Hey, what if the key was charged with electricity? He got a jolt when he touched it and died. Unless he was touching a live wire or something. Metal is just a conductor. It can't store electricity like a battery. Crap. Now he knew I'd failed science class hard. How could I possibly recover? Maybe he threw the key in the air and it clonked him on the head. And that broke his heart. Oh, it could scroll like this. Oh, only if I... well. I was full of intelligent remarks as usual. I think we could safely rule that out. Yeah. I was dying for some fresh air. Every room smelled like chemical cleaner and paint. And this one didn't have a fake window. I have some advice for you. Stand on your head. Works for me. One time I had an entire police station stand on their heads. We solved so many crimes. Ugh. Still at it with the annoying gimmicks. But it was worth a shot. I was willing to try anything. I rolled my eyes and pushed off from the ground, steadying my legs against the wall. The world was upside down. Now the dummy was on the ceiling. I almost expected a large key in his hand to fall. Wait a minute. There was something else in the room to examine. Something I'd been taking for granted. Something I'd taken for granted in every mystery in this context. I got it from the headstand. My brain hurt and my face was flushed, but I had a new idea. The keyhole. I was gonna say door, but yes. I don't know if I should have been annoyed that he cut me off or glad that we were finally syncing up as partners. Told you standing on your head would work. You laughed, you scoffed, but now you choked on your own hubris. How does the crow taste? Yep, annoyed was definitely the reaction I had to go with. Excuse me? You knew we had to examine the keyhole this whole time and said nothing? I think we're even, buddy. It was a test and stuff. Blah, blah, blah. Alright, fair enough. I think your ability will help a great deal in solving the mystery. It's pretty simple, but it would be difficult to solve without you. How would you know about my ability? You were holding the key 10 millimeters from your eye. Oh. What an obvious deduction. I tried my best to be flattered and get over my feelings of irritation at myself. There was no time for distractions. There was only room for the present moment and the mystery at hand. Time to examine the door. Could the keyhole unlock the whole mystery? Seemed like a good use for my method. Something caught my eye. A thin black stripe on the edge of the keyhole. Was this the extra evidence I'd been looking for? Found a clue that would solve the whole mystery. Maybe. I know something interesting on the keyhole. A black mark. Could it have been a burn mark? A burn mark? Well, maybe. It's vitally important. Well, I guess so. Don't be upset now. Do you see what I'm getting at? This is actually a really simple mystery. And it all falls into place when you realize who the suspects are. Why don't we take a look at the case file again and tell me what you notice? Oh boy. More tests. Mr. Paranoido, a small-time crook wanted by police, was found dead in the walk-in closet at 10:20. Mr. Gun Happy, a police officer, was the only one on the scene. Drat, I didn't really notice anything, but I had to say something. Police officer. The case file says Mr. Gun Happy is a police officer. So, yes it does. And we know Mr. Gun Happy is probably the murderer. He has the motive. He has the means. And he has the method. What weapons do police officers typically carry? I hated how he would always try to guide me to solutions instead of saying the answers. It made me look stupid. Look so stupid. Or did it make me look smarter for actually figuring it out? I couldn't decide. A taser. Police officers carry tasers. Oh, and tasers are known for sometimes cause cardiac arrest. There we go. See now why I was so insistent on the burn mark on the keyhole? Wait, what? Are you saying that Mr. Gunhappy shot a taser line through the keyhole? It sounded strange at first, but it kind of made sense. Yes, exactly. But how? Keyholes are small. Not this one. A big key means a big keyhole. Wow, is that it? That's all there is to it. Yep. I couldn't believe it. How simple the mystery really was. Hadn't 773 said it was simple at the very beginning? Had he solved it all the way back then? Was he slowing himself down just for me? I tried not to think about it too much. One more thing. Oops, we almost forgot the bonus. Oh, right. Why was Mr. Paranoido hiding in the closet? Oh, crap. That was hard. I thought back to everything we knew about the case. A singular key, a singular purpose, a small-time crook, hunted by the police. He was obviously hiding from Mr. Gunhappy. Simple as that. Submit. What? What if the solution was something super complicated? And what would that be? I don't know. Yet again, I was making myself look like a fool, which was pretty ironic considering my partner was a clown. Correct. Your score on this mystery is 100%. Please make your way to the waiting room for the 5th round. The final round of Stage 1. Stage 1's almost over already. How many stages are there? 100 stages. 100 stages? That couldn't be right. There are 6 stages. Technically 5 stages plus 1. You will see what I mean if you get there. Intriguing. Can I keep this key as a souvenir? No. What if I did? What would happen? Would you pop out of the speaker and snatch it back from me? You are not allowed to leave this location if you want to stay in the contest. So we would not let you leave until you put back or gave it to one of the staff on penalty of elimination. What would happen if I had a medical emergency and had to leave? Would I be eliminated? That seems unfair. There is a protocol. Now please return to the waiting room. I was shocked that 774 managed to squeeze any answers out of the Game Master, but it seemed like that was all the information we could get. Don't have a heart attack now. Why would I? It's just some advice. I'll do my best to follow it. We walked back into the hall. He kept tripping and rolling on purpose. I guess he took after his parents, since he said they were clowns. I assumed that past tense meant they were dead. I wondered when they had died and if he ever been a clown himself or just watched from the wings. Seemed improper to ask. As I watched him rolling, I understood. It was like a duck and cover. He thought somebody might snipe him, so instead of walking, he just moved in an unpredictable pattern. I smiled to myself, thinking that I'd solve another part of the puzzle. He wasn't so mysterious after all. That's when he tripped and face planted, nose crunchingly hard. I rushed over to where he lay. Hey! What was that? I broke my nose. I resisted the urge to say, serves you right. Don't panic. There's a protocol for this. A loud buzzing sound filled the entire hallway, and the elevator lit up. The floor buttons lit up in quick succession, and I heard compartments screech as the brakes were applied way too quickly. The greeter from downstairs rushed out of the hospital gurney and wheeled it to where we were. We picked up Detective 774 and placed him on the gurney. He'll be fine. Where are you taking him? That's privileged information. Why does he need a gurney? Are you gonna keep asking me questions, or are you gonna let me help him? You're using a gurney because it's fun. We never get to use the gurney. Oh, okay. Off we go. She wheeled the gurney away. She put it into the elevator with a look that said, "Don't follow me." The doors started to close. Just before they closed completely, I saw 774 wink in my direction. I expected them to go down, but instead I saw the elevator was actually going up to the 5th floor. The 5th floor. Was that where the Game Master lived? Was 774 trying to meet the Game Master? I didn't understand anything. What could he be up to? Insanity. Waiting for Detective 774 was like waiting for the mail. It seemed to take forever. When I entered the waiting room, I looked around for Red July, but she wasn't anywhere to be seen. 774 had given me a once-in-a-lifetime chance. I probably would never talk to her again, though the odds weren't too bad, seeing as there were still 5 stages left to go through before the end. The elevator opened, and in danced 774. I jumped up. The couch still left with the memory of me and its phone. Did you see the Game Master? I brushed aside my anger for a moment. I wanted to know who the Game Master was. No. Haney knocked me unconscious before the doors opened. Haney. That's the name. That's what I named the greeter. Because her name tag didn't say her real name. Okay. I get that you need a realistic reaction from me. But how did you know that they wouldn't just call an ambulance or kick you out of the contest? Seems like a stupid way to try to visit the 5th floor. It's the only way. In fact, if I really had been injured, I bet I would have made it there. I knew they wouldn't call an ambulance because every last detail of this operation's been in-house. Did you notice how the greeters' clothes had no design labels on them? That's because they were handmade here. Do you smell the paint smell? It's not the smell of a brand, it's the smell of milk and lime homemade white paint. And I knew they wouldn't kick me out because if they took me up in their elevator, it would be their own fault if I saw the 5th floor. So I thought it was worth the risk. I see. After that explanation, how could I stay mad? Besides, we'd still stayed in 3rd in spite of my amateurish sleuthing. I owed him a lot. Do you know what else I've deduced? Of course I don't. After the 5th round, we will be switching buildings. How do you know? Because the next stage won't be about locked room mysteries. The same kind of mystery twice in a row? That'd be really boring. And these rooms are set up for them. Also, I suspect this competition is a little dodgy. I didn't see any endorsement from police or advertising in a newspaper, so they'll want to keep from moving from facility to facility. But then, why are we here? Let's go before they convert us to drug smugglers or something. No, we'll win the contest, and we'll figure out what they're keeping from us. It's what a detective at heart would do, and should do. In fact, it's like an Oreo. I grimaced, but motioned for him to continue with his stupid metaphor, since he obviously couldn't help himself. The frosting of... He was cut off by the announcement jingle, thankfully. Detectives, you are now number 35. You now number 35 pairs in total. It's time for the last round of stage 1, the 5th round. The Game Master paused for dramatic purposes. We waited for the Game Master to call out the door numbers. Instead, the elevator opened. Please enter the elevator. We shuffled in, and the elevator descended until we got to the first floor. The doors opened with a quiet swoosh and ding. We were in the same room we'd all entered the first time we came in, although now I saw it again. I noticed the door next to the elevator. I assumed it led to the hallway where the first floor detectives solved the crimes, but now there were only 10 of them left thanks to the cutoff. The sound of the crowds was intense too, though not as bad as there been 100 detectives in the room. Still, I could just barely hear the Game Master's mangled voice. What time is it? Okay. Once again, we'll be eliminating 5 pairs this round. I'm happy to say that only the first stage is suspicious. The elimination process will slow down once the dawdling inclined have been booted. The final round is not designed by the criminals. That's so they have a chance to catch their breath. The final round in each stage is designed by me, except for the final round. Another thing about the final rounds is that the ranking system is different. This time, there's no time limit. This time, you'll be ranking each other. A collective murmur was heard around the room. This was going to be even more difficult. If the other detectives didn't like the way 774 solved the next mystery, he and I would lose our 3rd place rank. It changes less than you think. The top 3 rankings will probably stay the same. The other detectives won't know who to vote for based on performance alone. They're inexperienced that way. They'll just pick the detectives they've been told are good. After all, who else would they vote for? Their former partners? They didn't get to know them enough to care, and the ones who did will probably be in the minority. He had a point. After hearing that, I relaxed a little. The door that I'd been puzzling over before opened with a heavy click. Please go through the door and walk until you reach the final room. You'll be entering the room 1 pair at a time, so keep the line orderly. The detectives quietly formed a line in front of the door. Detective 774 dragged his feet as he was made to wait for the line to move slowly along. Since he couldn't do his trip and roll thing, he had to settle for doing the robot. The wait was long, and unfortunately, I started to notice how hungry I was. I hadn't eaten since I arrived, which had been in the morning. The mysteries had been flying by so fast I hadn't even noticed it had become the afternoon. I wish I'd packed a lunch or something, but I hadn't thought this thing through enough. But, as I should have expected, Detective 774 had. He brought out a paper bag from his sleeve. He had a soup canteen and a sandwich box inside. Of course, when he opened them, I saw he stuffed the sandwich in a canteen and poured the soup in the box. Oh well, result over method and all that. While he was drinking his sandwich, I decided to try to get to know the other detectives while waiting around. Couldn't hurt to build some connections. So I already know. I know him. Does choice matter here? A detective wearing a fedora, an ugly tan trench coat. If I ever needed a real-life trope, I found one. Hello there, I'm Detective Hackett. Though my name tag says thinks with fists. The point of the name tags is to conceal your real name. I realized at that moment that I hadn't even read his yet. Wait a minute, where was it? I couldn't see it anywhere on him. 774 made a twirling motion with his hands and then pointed up to the sky with a sudden jerk. Something flew out of his sleeve and it fluttered down. He grabbed it and shoved it towards Detective Hackett. I squinted and I could just barely read Dance Master. Haha, accurate as usual. What's wrong with your real name? Are you embarrassed? My name is currently 774 held the moment in suspense, then did a little shimmy or whatever and bowed, twirled, and then tripped and fell on his face. Detective 774. I tried not to look at him. Hackett didn't seem to notice 774's acrobatic fail. His face had sobered up. 774, you mean you're the top-ranked detective? Yeah, it's pretty surprising, isn't it? I'm Nell, 774's current partner. Wow, the third highest ranked detectives. Yes, so am I. We're a team. That's so cool. Your quirky method keeps you on top. Hello? Have you retained that spot for long? Since the first mystery. Whoa, you're so good it hurts. I'm just plain hurt myself. I've barely managed to stay in. Good luck. Thanks, pal. It's like I don't exist. We're up after this. Have you ever thought over the next case? How could I? I don't even know what it is. He smiled like I was joking, but it didn't say anything, probably thinking to himself and that I wanted to keep my deductions a secret or something. He was totally wrong. I really had no clue whatsoever. The door to the mystery room was opened, and the last detective pair walked out. After a moment, the door was unlocked for us. 774 waltzed in, with me close behind. The room was completely dark. We stood in the darkness, afraid to take another step. Welcome to the final round of Stage 1. This mystery is called A Crazy, Messy Death. A light turned on suddenly. My eyes soon adjusted, revealing the strange, impossible crime. As before, please look at the case file for the details. Miss Bashney, a stunt person, was readying herself for a scene late one night. She was found dead in the morning. The most likely suspect is Miss Starpower, a movie star who wanted to do her own stunts. The room was locked from the inside when the crime was discovered. You do not have access to the autopsy report. What kind of scene was Miss Bashney preparing for? Well, time to get started. One stick of lipstick. Not a lot of makeup here for dressing room. I should probably save. Or costumes for that matter. Game Master's budget running low. No doubt. Game Master's budget running low, no doubt. There was glue in the bottom of the lipstick. Was that part of the mystery? Or part of the meta mystery? The mystery in the context of the contest. Oh, lipstick was glued to the table. What was that about? Looks like a camera on the wall. Is this to record the video for the contest? They do like to listen in on this. What a nice upgrade. He made a bunch of faces at the camera. Even I stuck my tongue out, just to spite the Game Master. Hopefully our ridicule was noted. Miss Bashney. Looks like more than just her knee was bashed. If I had to guess, what the weapon was a baseball bat, likely. What was that? Was that really all the evidence? I was still totally lost. I'll be the first to admit I have no idea what's going on here. Hopefully 774 knew what was going on. He usually had everything figured out already. Hum hum hum. Super helpful. Wonderful, this again. You know, Nell, this is really giving me a whole new perspective on the mystery. In fact, I believe it's solving itself for me. All it takes is standing on your head. Doctors recommend it highly. No way, I'm not doing that again. Especially since I know there's 58 other detectives who will be watching this. But now, don't you want to give them a big show? Look, I know you're a clown, but that's your life, okay? I don't have to be a clown with you. I have my own unique style. Oh, I see. You don't want to be a clown with me. Such a shame because a clown nose is the height of fashion. Nobody thinks that. Stop joking around. Clown with me, Nell. Clown with me. He was creeping me out. One of us. One of us. Stop it, you freak. Oh my. That's not very productive. You're right. I'm sorry. I did feel bad about calling him a freak. Your apologies is going right in the trash, you clown hater. KO. Can we refocus, please? Right. Back to what I was saying. Now, solving this mystery is entirely depending on you standing on your head. It's the only way you'll be able to see the solution. I beg you to stand on your head. Please, I'm serious. He did sound serious about it. I guess it wasn't the worst thing in the world. But why did he have to be so forceful about it? I reluctantly stood on my head once again. To my shock, almost immediately something clicked into place. Had Discount Patch Adams actually helped me figure out something? The lipstick was glued to the table. Why is that? At first I thought it was something the Game Master did for us for the contest, but the props have never been glued down before. Could it be that? Could it be really be that? My mind was racing. Was this explanation too impossible? Too stupid to be the truth? It seemed incredibly hard to believe. Whoa, Nelly. Let's calm down for a second. I wondered how long he'd been waiting for me to say that. First of all, the lipstick isn't the only thing glued down. The seats are bolted to the floor. That hasn't been the case in any other mystery. Really? You really think that? Yes. And it's the reason why standing on my head was the key to solving this mystery. Take it away. For this to be the case, the real case, I had to turn my entire thinking on its head, which I realized what 774 had really been asking me to do. The shocking truth of this mystery was, the room is upside down. Standing on my head did lead to somewhat of a revelation, as it often does. Usually looking at things upside down is a way to show things in a fresh new way. You're seeing them in a new circumstance, in a way which they weren't meant to be seen. But in this case, upside down is the way they're meant to be seen. The lipstick was glued to the table in order to keep them from falling down, when the entire room is turned upside down. Precisely. This dressing room can be turned 360 degrees. The only question is, why is this the case? Once you figure that out, everything becomes obvious as a Wilhelm scream in an action-adventure movie. There's one piece of evidence that makes everything completely click together, and that is, again, with expecting me to finish the sentence, it felt like I was back in high school. Oh! Hi, Table Knights! Thanks for the raid! Doing some reading with this Methods the Detective competition. I felt like I was back in high school. Oh crap. I forgot what I was just doing. The camera. The camera in the wall is the key to solving this mystery. This is a film set. As soon as he said it, the room rumbled slightly. What's going on? Simple. The dressing room is really a movie set that can rotate. Late one night, Miss Bashni, the stunt double for Mrs. Starpower, was rehearsing for a scene. The scene involved a special effect where the room rotated, yet the camera remained perpendicular to the room. This kind of effect has been seen in 2001 Space Odyssey, Nightmare on Elm Street, Royal Wedding, and many more. I haven't seen any of those. Probably why it took you so long to figure it out. While Miss Bashni was rehearsing, Miss Starpower came in and turned on the mechanism that rotates the room. Since the case file says Miss Bashni was discovered in the morning, she probably was tossing and turning all night. Nobody, even a stunt person, would likely survive that. I give the murderer the benefit of the doubt, however. Perhaps Miss Starpower thought it would be just enough to scare Miss Bashni into no longer doing her stunts. It was all laid out so easily. How much of that did you have figured out before you made me stand on my head? My clown contract prevents unnecessary disclosures. Oh, come on. Wait, wasn't there one more thing to do? Whoops, we almost forgot the bonus question. Oh, right. What kind of scene was Miss Bashni preparing for? Well, you figured out that this is a dressing room. The dressing room is actually a set. Hi, I'm BA. Tally ho. Tally ho. Well, you figured out that this dressing room is actually a set. So the scene must take place in a dressing room. Good job, Nell. I can't believe I completely lost faith in you. Oh, that's so mean. Was closing up VR stuff. Yeah, I was seeing some of your VR. Ugh, it makes me want a VR head. Well, it makes me wish I could do VR. I've invested like the $300 for a VR headset and just gotten dizzy and just couldn't make it, so. But it looks so cool. Like you were like grabbing things. There was like one part where you actually grabbed one of the bodies there and like moved his head, and I'm like, wow, that's so cool. Yeah, I guess maybe there's an adjustment period, I guess. But I was just kind of like, I guess I was kind of paranoid because just as I got the VR stuff, I also was thinking, you know, reading the documentation may cause, you know, may be bad for your eyes, may be bad for, you know, all this other stuff. And then I was like, if I'm getting dizzy, this might not be the healthiest thing for me. You have to get VR legs. Yeah, probably. I don't know how comfortable you feel with the VR helmet. I played so much that for 2 days I couldn't move without nausea, and after that I've never been sick again. Ah. Maybe I was taking too long trying to adjust it. I do have to admit, there was a time where I thought it was kind of cool. I like, it was weird. Like, the first couple of days that I tried the VR headset, I didn't actually have that much of a problem. And then, like, I guess maybe like a day or two of not playing it, went back to it, and I got nauseous. But I was using it so much, like, I remember, like, putting on the headset and, like, just staring up, on my bed, and I was like, I can watch Hulu and not have to turn. I can lay on my back and watch TV, which I thought was so cool. And then, yeah, then a couple of days later, I'd gone a couple of days without playing it, and then I put it back on, and I was just nauseous and sick. And I ended up taking it back. Same thing I did. Yeah. I can't believe I completely lost faith in you. Thanks. It wasn't great, but I'd take a compliment slung my way. The ways this effect is usually used have to do with supernatural forces of some kind. On some kind. I can't speak anymore. On-screen characters can climb or walk on walls and ceilings. So, at the very least, we know Miss Bashni was probably supposed to be doing that in the scene. I think this scene is a little too vague to guess at everything going on in it, though. Maybe it's some type of inner fantasy or hallucination? Not a bad idea. And if you thought Half-Life was cool, Half-Life was cool, you should see my Boneworks stuff. That game is insane. I don't know. I'm watching you in the VR and it just makes me jealous. Honestly, what I want to do is what I originally did when I first did VR, which was I don't know, the first few times I've done VR, it was with the sort of space stuff. And like the different types of headsets, like the old-fashioned ones that they had that weren't really that great, but Star graphics don't necessarily have to be that that detailed because you're in space. But when they started doing the VR for the Samsung cell phones, went back on there and did that, and that combined with like the headset was pretty cool. I thought that was pretty awesome. Some of the space stuff and sort of feeling like you're in space. I say we submit and see what happens. Wait. Submit. Great. What if we were wrong about the answers? There was no going back. Correct. Your score on this mystery is 100%. Your answer to the bonus question was acceptable. Phew. You will now be ranking the other detectives. Please make your way back to the first floor. Oh, good. I can't wait to see how the other detectives solve this one. I strongly suspect that headstanding will be involved. For sure, yeah, for sure. Should I have been more grateful? What is that? Oh. Should I have been more grateful to get to work with such a successful detective? Maybe, maybe not. The best way to see if he was overrated, as I thought he was, mm, could very well be the detective ranking. I couldn't wait. The Watching Room, Part 2. Check, check, check. I flipped the many switches in front of me. Some of them didn't do anything, but it looked cool. Every game master was working on editing the footage from the fifth round to make it more interesting for the detectives to watch. Attention spans these days. Stop it, Greg. They're just switches. No need to say check over and over. Melly, are you editing or sleeping? I'd heard from Clark that Melly was actually asleep all the time and was just really good at sleepwalking and talking. A common rumor, apparently. There were 30 detective pairs to scrub through and splice, so we got 10 each, which left Kane the opportunity to boss us around. It's not like she ever does anything else, but it wasn't a bad job, so I didn't complain. Okay, looks great. I've never liked the whole detective-based ranking method, though. Nothing really changes. It's important to give them the illusion of control over the rankings, even if it's for a short time. She was probably quoting the Game Master's Guide of the Galaxy, or whatever manual was called. That way they're less likely to complain about time-based rankings and say they're unfair somehow. Ha ha! She almost fell out of the chair. She probably kept the Sandman in business. What's funny? The rankings? Time-based? They really believe that they're time-based. Are these people's detectives or not? They just accept what we tell them. Never underestimate the power of a disembodied authoritative voice. When I had first become a game master, I thought the fact that we tweaked the rankings was a bit unfair. But the more I thought about it, the odder it seemed that a big organization would just leave whoever won up to time. For instance, what if certain detectives didn't work well with the time limits, but were good enough to face off against the best criminal in the contest anyway? The way the rankings were set up, they wouldn't even make the second floor. But that begged the question. Hey, why not just judge the detectives based on quality? It was worth bringing up for the 14th time. That's not worth bringing up for the 14th time, Greg. If the detectives questioned our method of choosing, that would disrupt the mood of the competition. Time is universally acknowledged as an objective metric. Besides, it's generally the best detectives who come in first anyway. Anyone we know is good will slip in at the back of the rankings, even if they didn't do well time-wise. By obscuring that with a cutoff list eliminations, we can make it seem like they just barely made it. My head started hurting, so I held up a hand for her to stop. Okay, got it. Play the tapes. Watching Detective 774 make his partner stand on her head was pretty amusing. But he'd done that before. Make her jump up and down like a kangaroo. That would be more creative. Now that there is a good team, he nodded at the screen coffee mug with one hand, pen and pad in the other. He handed the mug to Melly as he noted something down. I agree. She was furiously scribbling in her notepad. I'd marked down on my own pad in my usual block letter handwriting. I gave 774 a 7 out of 10. Good thing Nell didn't seem to be dragging him down too much. His first time on the last two mysteries had definitely suffered. What is that? We proceeded to watch Detective Swinger and whistle his... Detective Swinger? Hum and whistle away around the crime scene. Of course, his partner, Detective Ether, went right to sleep. Now there is a good team. Swinger's a good musician, but is that really a good method? Seems to work for him. I don't see the point of questioning it. But how does drumming on the victim tell him anything? Tells me he's one good drummer. Red July had the answer in seconds. It was a little hard to tell if Honor was really helping, even though they did solve the bonus question. Can you really solve these types of crime if your method is disguises? Even though she's good at disguises, Honor's pretty smart, and she gets along with Red July, which almost nobody does. That's just because Red July has a massive ego. She's not getting along with Honor. She's getting along with herself. Good thing we paired him up then. Now, that there is a good team. They're always so fun to watch. She abruptly slumped in her chair and dropped the coffee mug, spilling coffee all over the carpet. A quiet snore was heard. Clark, I told you, don't ever hand Melly anything hot, active, liquid, on fire, or sharp. And a coffee mug violates 2 out of those rules. She gave Clark an evil eye and a towel. All right, let's compare notes. I glanced at the other pads. Melly's was indiscernible, of course. Kane screamed at her until she woke up so she could tell us what she had written. What's the average on Red? Red was our nickname for Red July. 10, as usual. Can I get the averages for the other two in the top 3? Slakes and Asper at 9.7, 774, 5, and Nell got an 8.5. That seems kind of low for them. It was me. I gave him a 7. How dare you? But I gave Slakes a 10. Thank you. Slakes was our favorite for some reason. It's too bad Slakes will be switching partners next stage. As usual, nobody but the top 3 cracked an 8. We need to give them more competition or they'll start slacking off. These were Game Master earlies, as we called them. The only scorecard we looked at were our 4 cards. The score the detectives gave each other didn't matter at all. Illusion of choice, that's all. Even so, on average, it was a safe bet that the detective scorecards would mirror our own. Sometimes we even made those bets if we were really bored. Guys, why is Cole still in the contest? I don't like him. I don't know. I don't like him either. Do you like him, Clark? Well, he doesn't make a good team. That's for sure. So no, I don't really like him. Greg? Yeah, let's stop his reign of terror, why not? Generally, it was a bad idea to try to game the system. Those types of detective needed to be weeded out. Ready for the announcement? Sometimes our announcements were pre-recorded, things like instructions that didn't need to be live. Then we kept a feed open to answer questions afterwards. It was convenient that the voice was altered because we could outsource the rooms to a separate HQ with over 100 Game Master voices ready to answer questions. We made sure to pay them below minimum wage because it wasn't really a difficult job. If you make a lot of money, you don't work as hard. That's just the truth. The first stage was always the trickiest because the sheer volume of detectives, but by the time the announcement was over, 10 detectives would be eliminated, leaving 60 in total. Much more manageable. Then let's pull the detectives. Numbers came quickly. So Tronin and Genter, 1. Ensign Walter, Ash, Down and Rose, Day and Norman. Red, July and Honor, Bobo and Bane, Yin and Bane and Summers, Toe. Where's 774? Even though we didn't use the detective's input for the actual rankings, it was still interesting. It took roughly a minute for the rankings to finish sorting themselves out. When it stopped, we all looked in shock at the monitor. Refresh it or something. Run it again. This can't be right. It's right. The detectives had done the unexpected. Our treasured top 3 were gone. Instead of Red July, Slakes, and 775, the detectives had chosen Tronin and Genter, Ensign Walter, and Ashdown and Woes as the top 3 pairs. Yuck! What is this? Only one of these pairs is even in the top 10. I'm getting over my surprise. This is actually fairly typical. Detectives tend to prioritize the pair that schmooze the most, not the best ones. Still, Red July should be higher than 5th. This ranking was just insulting. Alright, I'm making the announcement. Unbelievable. These detectives had no taste at all. The best detective. We finished watching the detective videos. I laughed at almost every single one for one reason or another. The detectives in the videos shot me death glares, but it was worth it. Detective 775 hadn't laughed once, though it was probably harder when you were holding yourself up with one hand. He said it was for circulation reasons, but I knew it was just an excuse to goof off. Like he'd predicted, we'd come in third again. After seeing our video, I wondered once again if I was slowing him down. He seemed confident enough, so I was sure he had something up his sleeves. Probably literally. Do you know who the best detective here is? Yeah, it's Red July, right? What an icon. Wrong. You get an E++, which is closer to an F- than an E sharp. Is it close to a D-? No. What about an E augmented? You failed the class. Okay, why? She's the fastest detective here, but that doesn't mean she's the best. Well, you failed to provide the proper context for your question. If you meant the best in terms of quality, I would say, well, probably you. Wrong again. Taking a crime scene seriously is a must for for any real detective, and turning it into a circus is practically the complete opposite. Wow. Couldn't he take a compliment? Well, that's pretty self-deprecating. Don't take it too seriously. Never take anything seriously, unless it's a joke. But you just said, oh, whatever. So who is the best detective? I'll give you one more guess. Slakes? Wrong, yet again. Wow. Isn't this asking who the best soccer player is? How can I be wrong? It's just an opinion. Let's not get into subjectivity. I have a 34 volume tome about that argument. Sorry, but the tome proves that there is an objective truth to everything. But who determines an objective truth is? Shh. Shh, shh, shh. It's all covered in the tome. Cool. That's basically an appeal to authority fallacy. But I'm not just going to ignore it since we don't have that much time. Just tell me what you're thinking. I'm thinking her. Is she behind the greeter? No. The best detective is the greeter. Huh? I didn't say they were in the competition. That's cheating. The greeter, who I've christened with an incredible name of Hayne, is the best detective here. She was a winner of the competition in the past. Now she's watching for new talent, on the lookout for a possible apprentice, and ultimately a successor. How do you know that? Did she tell you in the elevator? I'm a detective. Oh, I see. You're a detective, huh? Oh gosh, I didn't know. I deduced it. Wow, you deduced it. Oh, cool. Oh, good. For you. Oh gosh, oh cool. Let me just walk you through my deductive process. Yes, please, go ahead. It's like an Oreo. Give me a break. That's completely out of context. Orange? Orange? You changed it. You just changed it. Cleared his throat and glared at me. It's like an orange. You don't have to peel the orange to know that there's fruit inside. Similarly, I don't have to ask Annie if she's a detective to know that she's got the blood of a crime solver in her veins. That isn't really an explanation. What clued you in? Several things. First, her blonde hair. What? That's stupid. It's dyed. But more on that later. Second, the look of boredom on her face. Her expression? Why would the game master hire someone so unenthusiastic? I don't know. Why does the guy at Target tell me his job sucks without me even asking him every time I buy 15 pairs of the same jacket? The third. How she knocked me out. What? Was her punch especially deductive in nature or something? Well, how did she know I was faking it? The protocol was for people who got injured. For all she knew, I was seriously hurt. If she's a doctor, then why work as a greeter? The obvious answer is that she deduced it. That sounds like a Gish Gallop argument to me. I'm completely unconvinced. Fine. I recognized her. I'm naturally familiar with many detectives. Haney is the best. What? Why didn't you say that from the beginning? It was a test. Oh, stop it with your "it was a test." Alright, it wasn't a test, I just wanted to look smart. Well, now, what was I supposed to say? Stupid honesty. I sulked in silence for a few moments. The silence was broken by the announcement chime. Directions for your hotel route will be provided shortly by the greeter Haney. Huh? I thought you made up that name. I did. Now I was even more confused. She liked it and now it's her fake name. Aha, I get it. So you were talking to her in the elevator. No wonder she saw through your injury. Kind of hard not to when you're supposedly wounded detective sits up and starts casually chatting. I knew I'd hit the nail on the head when he didn't immediately retort. Oh my god! Showed how cared showed how he really cared about finding out who the game master was. Here's your route map. The hotel is optional, but it's all expense paid, so I recommend it. Thank you, Haney. She walked away without another word. So, what is this? Are the directions written in invisible ink? You mean you don't know how to read a map? Forget that. I don't know how to read, period. I'm completely illiterate. What? I only listen to audiobooks. I can read stop signs. That's about it. There's no way I was buying that. I decided he was just trying to make me feel better about our heated exchange. Thanks for the confidence boost. Guess you'll be relying on me to show you the way to the hotel. Great, now I can pay him back properly for helping me solve the last case. Quid pro quo or whatever. I'm not staying there. I'm going back home. There went the plan. I felt a presence to my left and Haney materialized out of nowhere. Go to the hotel. 775 shuddered. I felt it too. Like ice had formed over my entire body. It had just only a second away exchange, but she looked into my eyes. I didn't need to see proof to know 775 was right about her. Her eyes were like floodlights. She saw my soul and read it like an absorbing work of fiction. Disregard my previous statement. Looked like 775 would be joining me at the hotel after all. So, I am gonna stop here. And go ahead and save. I'd like to thank everybody for joining. Thank you, Table Knights, for raiding. Thank you for those that followed. This is a new experience for me doing all this reading, so it seems like a lot for me. Getting late. It's about 11 o'clock here on the West Coast. Thank you so much for enjoying this mystery with me here today. Gonna go ahead and end stream. And thanks again.